All right, let's talk about something that can be a real headache. If you've ever had to move a mountain of data into the cloud, you know it's rarely a walk in the park. Today, we're diving into a service built to fix that exact problem, Azure Storage Mover. So let me ask you, are you looking at a massive file migration right now? I'm talking terabytes of data, maybe from your on-prem servers or, hey, maybe even from another cloud like AWS S3, and you need to get it into Azure. If that's you, then you're probably all too familiar with these headaches, right? The complexity is just a nightmare. There's always the risk of downtime that nobody wants, and trying to keep track of everything when your data's all over the place, it can feel impossible. And that's what we're going to call the migration headache. It's that core challenge that IT pros everywhere are dealing with when they're trying to shift their data into the cloud. So what's the cure? Well, this is it. Azure Storage Mover is a fully managed service straight from Microsoft, and it is laser-focused on one thing, moving your files and folders into Azure Storage. And, this is the best part, doing it all while keeping that painful downtime to an absolute minimum. So let's properly introduce Azure Storage Mover and see what it's really all about. You'll find it's a perfect fit for a few really common situations. First, your classic lift and shift, just getting stuff from point A to point D. Second, for those migrations that you have to do over and over on a schedule. And third, and this is a game changer, it gives you a single place, a single pane of glass to manage migrations from file shares that could be scattered literally all over the world. You know, to really get a grip on how this works, I want you to think of it like a professional moving company, but for your data. Seriously, this one little analogy is going to make everything else click into place. Because here's the secret sauce. This isn't just some service running in the cloud. Nope, it's a true hybrid cloud engine, and that's what makes it so powerful. Let's go back to our moving company idea. The Azure Cloud Service, that's like your central office. It's where you plan the whole move, you orchestrate everything, you're the boss. But then you have the migration agent. That's your local crew on the ground. It's a little virtual machine that you deploy right next to your data, and it's the one doing all the actual heavy lifting, packing the boxes and loading the truck, so to speak. And the whole process is really logical. First, you deploy your local crew, that agent VM, right next to your source files. Then, you securely connect it back to your central office in Azure. From there, you just define the project in the cloud, tell it what to move and where to move it. And finally, you run the whole show. Start, monitor, review, all from one central place in Azure. Okay, so we've got the how it works. Now for the really important part. What can it actually move, and where can it put it? Because the whole point here is flexibility. It's about taking the data you have today, wherever it lives, and getting it to the right home in Azure for whatever you need to do tomorrow. And just look at this compatibility list. This thing is seriously versatile. Got data living in AWS S3, you can move it to Azure Blob. Got on-premise file shares running on SMB or NFS? Yep, you can move those into either Azure file shares or Blob containers. This covers a huge range of what businesses are actually using out there. Now, this is a point I really want to stress because it's so important. It's not just about copying bytes from one place to another. Storage Mover supports what's called full fidelity migrations. That means it keeps your folder structures, your timestamps, and even critical security stuff like your access control lists, your ACLs. And that's essential because if you lose that metadata, applications can break and your security goes right out the window. Okay, but what about the really, really big jobs? I'm talking hundreds of terabytes, maybe even more. Well, for those, there's a super clever strategy you can use. Think of it as a power-up for your migration. You bring in another tool, Azure Data Box. Think of Data Box as the giant moving truck, the heavy hauler. It's a physical device you use to ship all your bulk data to Azure without choking your internet connection for weeks on end. Then Storage Mover comes in as the nimble, fast mover that does the final online catch-up sync of anything that changed while the truck was on the road. So here's how that plays out. First, you ship your bulk data with the data box. But of course your business doesn't stop, right? People are still working, files are changing. Once that data box data is all uploaded in the Azure Data Center, that's when you fire up Storage Mover. It intelligently looks at what's changed and only syncs the difference, the delta. This makes your final cutover window so much shorter, and it is incredibly efficient about it. Let's say a huge file hasn't changed, but somebody updated its permissions. Storage Mover is smart enough to just send the new metadata, not re-upload the entire multi-gigabyte file. I mean, that alone is a massive time and money saver. So let's pull all of this together. Let's recap what this all means for you and your next big migration project. Here are the big things to remember. First, it's a fully managed service, which means way less work for you and your team. Second, you get that centralized bird's eye view of all your global migrations. Third, its main goal in life is to keep your workload downtime as low as possible. And fourth, for those massive jobs, it has that awesome power-up combo with Azure Data Box. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Is your current cloud migration strategy actually built to move at the speed your business moves? Because a tool like Azure Storage Mover is designed to make sure your answer to that question is a very confident yes. Thanks for joining this explainer.